All right, welcome back. Now let's talk about labor matters. The long wait is finally over for Nigerian workers as they can now smile to the bank monthly, knowing that instead of the previous 18,000 naira, they will now earn 30,000 naira as their minimum wage. And this is because President Muhammadu Buhari has signed the National Minimum Wage Bill into law. Ita Inang, Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, said the law makes it compulsory for all employers of labor in Nigeria to pay their workers 30,000 naira. Of course, there's a caveat, but just take a listen now to Ita Inang and give more details of the new law.
This makes it compulsory for all employers of labor in Nigeria to pay to their workers the sum of 30,000 naira. And this excludes persons who are employing less than 25 workers, persons who work in a ship which sail out of jurisdiction, and other persons who are in other kinds of regulated employment. It also gives the workers the right, if you are compelled by any circumstance to accept salary that is less than 30,000, for you to sue your employer to recover the balance, and authorizes the Minister of Labor and any person nominated by the Minister of Labor or any person designated by the Minister of Labor in any ministry, department, or agency to, on your behalf, take action in your name.
Now, here are some key highlights now of the new minimum wage bill compiled by Order Paper, an online publication. Let me just read out some of those highlights now. The first one says, of course, we all know the national minimum wage is pegged at 30,000 naira. Now, pegged at meaning it can actually go up in some cases. So for those who can afford to pay more than that, but of course it's pegged at 30,000 naira. The second highlight is that there's an establishment of a tripartite committee comprising the federal and state governments and organized labor and private sector to enforce implementation of the new law. And the third is that there is a fine of 75,000 naira to organizations that do not keep records of employees. And earlier I did talk about caveat, and here you have the caveat as the fourth highlight, which is exemptions now for establishments employing less than 25 persons. So it means organizations employing less than 25 persons would not have, this new minimum wage bill, the new minimum wage now would not be applicable to such organizations. Of course, you can imagine the number of SMEs that would fall under that category. And then number 5 is there's a 5-year review period of the Act in consonance with the constitutional review period for pensions. It's always been the case anyway, but never has that provision been complied with. But joining me right now to talk more about the new minimum wage and, of course, what it means for Nigerian workers is Amechi Asogwini, who is the Deputy President of Nigeria Labour Congress. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
A long struggle for you, and eventually you have what you want. Just give me, briefly how you feel about this.
Honestly, I think it came as a good news to Nigerian workers yesterday, and for us, it's a benefit that touches the life of every Nigerian, and in particular, the economy of this country will feel the impact of what Mr. President has just done. And we look forward towards what he did yesterday. Proactively, actually, it took us unaware. We were anticipating he would come 1st of May. But I think, looking at the season of Easter holiday, it became very important for him to actually look beyond the workers to making Nigerians living happily to 1st of May.
And because you talked about the economy, do you have concerns? Because some economists have actually expressed concerns that, yes, it is true, workers deserve to get more. 18,000 naira, it's actually not sustainable, not good enough. Even the 30,000 naira, it's not as if it's wonderful. But that, whether we like it or not, this is going to cause some kind of inflation. Is that a concern that you share?
No, all of these variables can be managed, can also be controlled. Inflation, naturally, we know when you chase more goods in the market and the price tends to go up, and other economic factors will come in. But the question is, there is already inflation. we had 18,000 as at when dollar was how much to naira. And so event such as inflation has swallowed up the 18,000 in the hand of workers. So it became imperative that workers' salary needed to be reviewed upward, irrespective of the tendencies that the economists are trying to argue out. You cannot argue. There is no economic provision that suggests that workers continuing earning 18,000 will solve or rather avoid the inflation that you're talking about, because it exists already. So you can see the hike on petrol price that actually led to the increase in transportation, and all of this became burden on workers 18,000. We use this 18,000 mostly because that is what the minimum says. And a lot of establishments have told you I can't pay more than the minimum wage. And you see private organizations making profit, but employ workers and pay 10,000, 15,000 per month, especially the security men. And this is appalling. So for me, it is important that we begin to reason what next do we do in the next 4 or 5 years on how to better Nigerian wage. Because since government could not actually reverse the seemingly outrageous rise on dollar against naira, we couldn't do anything. All we needed to do was to say, let there be stability.
And talking about the future, I mean, it's clearly stated in the bill that every 5 years there should be a review.
Certainly,
it's always
before
been
the expiration.
Yes, it's always been the case anyway. I mean, this came about 8 years after the last increment. So do you, as labor unions now, do you expect that the government will keep to the terms this time?
Yeah, I believe so.
So after 5 years' time, we should be talking
before
about
Before 5
reviewing
years,
the
I
current
think
wage.
what we agree, what was recommended is before the expiration, there should be a wage bill waiting to be implemented. So the idea of you going, there shouldn't be vacuum. In the past, we have actually, probably I would say, the monitoring to the execution of the law did not tailor on the details of the bill. In the past, they would tell you that it's 5 years. But when you look at the act that existed before now, you see some lacunas that actually tolerated what led to the 8 years.
8 years.
But now, it will be a violation for any party to allow it to go beyond
And some
5
people
years.
will tell you that, look, there's just no way we wouldn't have another confrontation in about 4 years from now, because it's always been the case.
But I predict that before Mr. President exits in 4 years' time, he would have set up the committee to look into minimum wage. Now, and I think that will make sense.
How do you plan to deal with some of the governors who have said, look, this is going to be very difficult for them to pay? The fact is that at 18,000 naira, even as we speak, some governors are still owing salaries, some states are still owing. And now it would appear they've been forced to accept this. So how are you going to, enforce compliance? Because, of course, there's a tripartite committee that's supposed to enforce compliance, but some of these governors too have, openly come out to say they would not be able to pay. Of course, they've not kicked against it now, but that's a challenge that, whether we like it or not, it's something that may crop up.
Yes,
as time goes on.
from the point of labor, I will tell you that I'm yet to see any governor that will wish to toe that unpopular argument. There's no government. As far as I'm concerned, there's no state government that can come out openly to tell Nigerians that he cannot afford to pay a civil servant worker 30,000 for driving his own policy. Because these are the workers. Unless there is no vision from the state, a governor who has vision requires people to drive the vision. And that is why first thing first is to take care of the workers that will implement the policy of every government. It doesn't matter the kind of road you want to build. It doesn't matter how you want to renew your state. Without these workers, nothing can be done. You make them more productive. Utilize your workers to create more revenue. But when you wait for ready-made money, that statement may continue to rain in their mouth. But if these governors will go out of their way to work out structures that will create money, you have workers in all your ministries. Ensure that through innovation, introduce schemes that will busy them, keep them on in providing
because
for...
it's actually
they are
quite
not actually resourceful.
It's actually quite surprising that you would have, say, a workforce about 43,000,
Exactly.
and then that workforce is not able to make the money it needs
out.
to pay
That
itself.
is something worrisome, that you have the capacity. There is no state that lack workers. In fact, I am one of those that have advocated that they should do what Ekiti, I think Ekiti or Kogi just did something now, trying to conduct a bilateral, I think they are trying to conduct, there is a system.
A biometric.
Could that just be biometric, or I forgot the name they call that system, but that is to actually take the database again of all workers. So they are coming back to register themselves. Re-register yourself if you exist. Because there's no way you can be paying this huge of money during the tripartite negotiation. They were willing to show us the expenses on wage bill. Yeah. So, but the question is, it's not about showing us your wage bill. The wage bill, how much of it is reality? How much are you truly paying to workers who are visible? So they need to carry out this review on workers. Maybe out of the 40,000 they claim, it's only 20,000 or 30 that is in function. And if that is the truth, you have saved the state more money. You can't be paying money to unknown faces and then you call them workers of the state. When you do that, then you now re-engage these thousands into assignment that will produce resources for the nation. Because don't forget, capital per head, that is how to measure the economic growth. So if at the state level, workers are just going to work, they stay from morning till evening and they close, it becomes a minus. For me, there is no state that cannot survive this.
But really, is it fair, to apply one rule now to every state, given the fact that whether we like it or not, these states are not equal? I mean, what comes to the state are actually not equal. What a state, for instance, like Lagos makes, you can never equate that to what a state like Zamfara makes, for instance. I mean, you just can compare them, and then you're asking both states to pay the same salary.
The unfortunate thing is that if a state like Lagos will give just 30,000 to its workers at the end of the month, then it's also not being fair. The decision to choose 30 was to consider those states
so you expect
that you're talking about.
To do more.
Lagos State shouldn't pay less than 50, and they can afford it. All of this is you motivate, you get more production. So those states that you consider to be less than other states, that is why we can still talk about 1,000 naira per day, which nobody should argue to pay less. How can a man with family be any less than 30,000? Even with the 30,000, you can't live where you choose to live. There is a place compulsorily that you must reverse yourself to find accommodation. You can't eat where others eat with 30,000. Your children cannot go to private school where you desire for your children. So all of this, you must look at Nigeria in the future. Then we talk about Vision 2020, Vision 2063, like the AU. They are planning from the meeting I attended last week or last 2 weeks. They're talking about Vision of Africa in year 2063. Yeah. That is a long-run target. But the question is, who are the Africans that will make that work? The people that are taking the decision, not all of them will be alive by then. We are talking about the children of today who are still in school to drive that vision. On 30,000 of their father, they will go to university. So all of this, we should be looking at how will the economy survive. Because assuming the infrastructures are actually ready, such that the money will be made for food alone, assuming government has actually provided water, provided electricity, make life very moderate for every Nigerian, you won't be talking about salary. You should be talking about how to enhance facilities.
Talking about compliance now, are we going to see this tripartite committee now move from, maybe state to state, ministries to ministries, or probably companies to companies now, just to ensure that, that they're all compliant?
I think for compliance, we believe there should be competition on who do best. And I believe every state...
I don't get you. You mean you expect some states to do better than the 30,000?
In terms of compliance, there should be competition among governors to be on the list of who comply first.
Oh, okay.
Everybody want to maintain that good name. That immediately Mr. President signed it into law. I was the first state.
But I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering how you expect that competition to happen when some of them cannot have not been able to pay the 18,000 wage.
See, they already know the challenge that led to not being able to pay minimum wage. It was not that the state suddenly became broke. It's as a result of inability to manage resources following the 2015 election.
Because we know states that are paying half, at 18,000 naira minimum wage, we know states that are still paying half salary every month.
It's an error. It's an error because you can't make such even popular, because you can't make it public such that you are violating the law. Mr. President made a statement that you wonder why or how a state governor will go to sleep when your workers are not being paid. People may read such statement to mean it eliminates with the daily news, but it's still alive. You are still a governor. Under you, workers are not paid salary, and you come out to television to actually address the public that I can't pay. And no governor is being owed today. No councillor is owed today. No commissioner is owed. We're talking about they should reduce. No governor has even taken that giant step to say, okay, I can't pay salary. From my security vote, what are they securing? They're calling on Mr. President every day for this security at the state level, yet they owe that amount of money. That bogus amount is for what? Who are they paying the money to? Drastically reduce your spending and put it right to the hand of people who actually need it. The poor is actually suffering all this burden because it's obvious that if we continue to make a speech matter, then the governors will keep us busy. So that is why the strategy now is that every sector has its own union.
Oh, okay.
Every sector has its own industrial union that must face your employer. In the issue of compliance, directive was even given in advance. Upon implementation, we were going to engage the state. Anybody who blow grammar, NLC will confront such person with action. Because law is not a matter of choice. It's compulsory. And there is nobody that is exempted. The issue of 25 workers, the law is just trying to be mild in order...
Do you have a problem with that?
We still have challenge because this is a country that people hide under little thing to manipulate. So it gives us concern. Left for us during the meeting, labor position was from zero. Every worker, you see, take your cleaner, domestic staff.
But then let's tell ourselves the truth, because you might be killing some of these SMEs. I mean, that are struggling to come up and trying to provide jobs.
They made those cases, but I think there are organizations. Digitalization has made it that organization with 5 workers are making billions.
Well,
so how do you differentiate them?
So
that is the question. So the job target at 25.
It's also up to your committee to investigate, and I mean that committee to investigate and follow up.
The special unit from the Ministry of Labour should do the needful. We know we have machineries to monitor all of this in order to avoid imbalance, and I believe everyone will be on desk, including the implementation stage. The Salaries, Income and Wages Commission must also do its own structuring in ensuring that all workers benefit from this minimum wage, because it's actually meant for all.
Sir Subgune, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thank you for your thoughts. We wish you all the best, and
you're welcome.
It's a happy day for workers.
For sure, I mean, we're celebrating to the
So it's going to be a very wonderful May Day for you guys.
Honestly, the workers can't wait. Thank you.
All right, that's it on the program. But if you want to watch it again, it's just simple. All you need to do is go to our website, tv360nigeria.com. You'll find this program and lots more there. You can also follow us on our various social media handles. So thank you very much for watching. I am Deji, and I'll see you next week.